Hi, this is Sarah Neighbor with Sarah Loves to Stamp. Today I'm showing you a great technique that my demonstrator friend Jen shared recently. I love it for a snowy or starry sky, but it has so many great uses. It also looks very different depending on the colors you choose to use. If you'd like more details on this project, including the supplies I've used and the pictures of today's card, just head over to my blog at sarahlovestostamp.com or click the link in the description box. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. I'm also trying something new with inserting still pictures of the finished card and doing a voiceover before the video, so feel free to comment and let me know what you think of that too. I hope you have a great day, and I hope you really enjoy this technique. I think it's so fun, and I just think it's fantastic. So without further ado, here's the video. Okay, so for the technique, the first thing you're going to want is something to attach your watercolor paper to. And in my case, sorry, I'm opening my drawers to grab my washi tape, and I'm just using a retired Stampin' Up! Washi tape. It's just a gold one. You can use painter's tape. You can really use any kind of tape you want. I would recommend something that will remove decently. Like, it doesn't have to be perfect because I'm going to, I cut my piece of paper a little bigger than what I want for my card. And I'm just taping it to this extra board thing here that was from one of the Stampin' Up! Like Designer Series paper packs. And it's just a thicker, like DSP backer, that kind of thing. So I'm going to go ahead and just tape it on here, and I'm just kind of flipping it all around and to all the different sides here. And then I'm just going to cover it with some water, and this technique goes so fast. It's so simple. Okay, so there the board is, or the piece of watercolor paper is attached to the board. And then I'm just going to grab an aqua painter. Of course, do any of mine have water in them? Should have planned ahead for this video. Oh, here we go. Here's some with water. Jeez. Okay. I was just making some other like color combinations, and when I was doing that, it just occurred to me like I totally since I did those other color combinations, I used up most of my water, and then I was like, I'm gonna film this real fast. Okay, so I'm going to use the color combination, and you can use as many or as few as you want. I'm using Melon Mambo, Pumpkin Pie, Blackberry Bliss, and Rich Razzleberry. Not in that order though. So I'm just going to stack them up, and I'm going to use Pumpkin Pie first. And you could do the squeezing the ink pad, you know, you've probably seen me do this before where you squeeze it. You could do that, but in my opinion it doesn't give you enough ink to do this watercolor technique. So you're going to want to use a re-inker, and I already done this, but you just drop a drop into the lid there. Okay, so you're going to take your aqua painter, and I recommend using the one with the large brush nib. And you are just going to squeeze out a bunch of water. You really want the paper to be really nice and wet so that the colors can move appropriately on them. Or on the paper, on them. Okay. So it looks like I've got plenty of water down, and then I'm just going to grab the pumpkin pie, and I'm going to start it at the bottom and just kind of let it move its way up the cardstock. And the more re-inker you're using, the stronger the color will be. And you can just kind of feather it up or whatever. Like, there is no right and wrong to this part. I saw Jennifer McGuire do this technique recently. Love her. And she just kind of layered the colors over each other, and I believe she used actual like watercolors, like, you know, in pans. Although that's not the only way they come. Okay, so I'm going to now, I have a paper towel here, and I'm just going to press squeeze the aqua painter to get the water flowing so that I can get all the pumpkin pie ink out of it. You know what, I want that to be just a bit stronger color though. That's funny, I did that and then I want more. Okay. And then I'm going to blend, I'm going to do Melon Mambo next. I'm going to blend that Melon Mambo into it. Okay, and again, you'd want to put a drop in your ink pad. I actually opened up my ink pad and was like, oh, there's a ton of ink in there from some other project I did, so I didn't even have to put any in there. And then you're going to put that on. And again, you can do this however you want. You can just layer them over each other, or like in my case, I'm kind of doing horizontal lines, although I'm trying to get it moving a little more so it doesn't look so obviously horizontal, you know. There you go. And then I'm going to move on to, you know what, I want a little bit more of this pink, I think. I'll move it up just a hair more so I can blend it with the next color, which is Rich Razzleberry. And I just kind of picked colors that would blend well to each other. You want to be really careful when you're doing any sort of watercoloring where you're going to really be blending the colors together. And this one I am going to put an extra drop of Rinker in. You want to be careful that they're colors that go together, because if they're colors, like if they're complementary colors across from each other on the color wheel, those two colors make brown. So you wouldn't want to use those two colors. For example, red and green. Don't do red right next to green. I mean, and again, these are general rules, like do what you want to do, you know, like there's no rules really in stamping, but I'm just trying to help you out. Okay, so this is Rich Razzleberry. I'm going to blend it down into the Melon Mambo. And Melon Mambo is looking super like, I don't know, almost like a neon coral today. I don't know what's up with that. Okay, so there's the Rich Razzleberry. And like I said, I'm just going to try and blend those two colors together a bit. And if you want to clean out your ink pads, or you could do this in another container or a palette or whatever, you certainly can. I've never had a problem with my ink pads, so I just go ahead and do it in there. Okay, and then last but not least, Blackberry Bliss. And Blackberry Bliss is an in color right now, and it's a really, really dark, I would say, cousin to Rich Razzleberry. So it's a great color. Has a little bit more, you can kind of see that Rich Razzleberry has a bit more like kind of a reddish hue in it, whereas Blackberry Bliss is very much like more of a true purpley purple. Purpley purple, that's really descriptive. Okay, so there's my colors, and I just kind of tried to create this kind of, oh, do you ever go outside when it's like there's just the most awesome sunset ever? That's what I was trying to create here. When you just have that really amazing sunset and your mind just can't even believe what you're seeing. Okay, and then I'm going to try and get, I just wiped off my brush, I'm going to try and get some more, I'm just going to grab a lot of darkness, and you want to make sure you have water or it's going to leave like streaks, but I really wanted the top of this to be darker. Now another way to get that effect, if you really want to create darkness when you're doing a watercolor, is to let it dry and add in more color, because if, like right now, my paper is pretty wet, so it's not allowing me to create super darkness up there. But okay, I need to work while this is still wet. Is this still? Yep, it's still wet. Oh, except for I just kind of like made a fingerprint. Okay, so you need to I wouldn't say work quickly because it's watercolor paper. Now this is why you use watercolor paper and not regular paper. I am going to use 3 different kinds of salt today, but you use whatever you want. This is kosher salt, sea salt, so it's nice big thick granules. So I'm just going to shake out a little bit in my hand here, and then I'm just going to kind of drop these on. And I'm just going to kind of spread them around. Oh, of course I'm dropping them on my table too. I will say I did this, I'm kind of placing that one. I did this without taping it down to the board, and the hardest thing was the watercolor paper will really bow then, and then it's really hard to get any of the crystals to stay, not any, but it's hard to get the crystals to stick where you want them to. Okay. So I'm just adding the big ones here, and I'm almost done. I just kind of dumped a few in my hands. Now, it's totally up to you what you want to do here. I also did them previously on a paper plate, and the paper plate was really nice because it caught all the salt that was going around the edges. Okay, now the second kind of salt I'm going to use is, the same salt, it's the sea salt, but I actually used it in the grinder, so I ground it through that into a little container here. So there's that. And I'm just going to take a pinch full and kind of sprinkle that around. And then we'll finish off with some table salt, and the nice thing about table salt is it's super fine. So it creates just another really different look. Each one of the salt will create a really different look. And I'm just kind of picking up salt that's gone by the wayside here. Okay. And then last but not least, here is just regular, you can see I have a bunch of it, table salt. I'm just kind of sprinkling that through my fingers. Okay, now, the magic happens when you let this just sit and dry. So I will be back with that. I watched a video where they did like a time lapse of it, but I don't think I have enough memory on my card to do a time lapse of this so you can see what happens. But I will bring it back to this point where it's, I'm going to just push that down there. I will bring it back just like this. So I'm going to leave the camera now, but I will bring it back just like this, still taped to the board so you can see it, what it looks like when it's all finished. And yeah, I just think this technique is super, super easy, and probably you have stuff on hand, you know, because you really just need watercolor paper, some sort of ink medium, and salt. And use what salt you have at home. I happen to have all that salt, and I happen to have the grinder, so I could make like that middle, you know, thickness of salt. But it can be cool on its own if you only use table salt too. So anywho, we'll let this sit, and I will be back later to show you the final results. So it's been a little over 2 hours, and I think the paper is like completely dry now. It feels really dry anyway. Or it feels close to dry. I don't know. I'm trying to debate if it's like bone dry or not. Okay, so here's what I'm gonna do. This is a great place to put my lens cap. Okay, so now once you have it to this point, and you can see the little like around the pieces of salt, how it's kind of like, I don't even know how to describe what's happening. And then like if I move the bigger pieces of salt, you can see it left really like darker color in those areas. So now what you need to do is scratch off, or scrape off, or whatever word you'd like to use, the salt. Where did my little scraping tool go? So I was using a, like, you know how people, well, maybe you know this, maybe you don't, maybe people haven't told you this, but people have always told me like to save those fake credit cards that come in the mail. This would be a great use for that. I went looking for mine and instead found a key card from the DoubleTree, apparently from when the Lorax was going to be in theaters, so that'll give you an idea how old that is. Anyway, so I'm just going to scrape gently. And you just want to make sure you're being really careful. Like on one of my other pieces I noticed I started to get like marks that look like I'm really struggling with descriptions today, guys. I started to get marks that looked like scratch marks across it. So you just want to be kind of careful. Just scrape all the salt down to one end. And then I'm going to just, I have a right behind me here, I have a trash can, so I'm just scraping it all in there. And then I'll remove it from its board, and then we can make a card with it. So let me just go ahead and remove it from the card. Now, see, the edges are going to be white. And this piece was, I believe, 4 1/4 by 5.5, which is the regular size of an A2 card. So I was planning on cutting it down anyway. If you wanted that white border, because it does look cool, like if it turned out well, like you can see up here the water got under my washi tape a little bit, make sure whatever tape you're using is going to really resist the amount of water you'll be applying. And then I'm just rubbing over it to make sure I got, yeah, see, here's a scratch mark. So I think the scratch marks are actually from the salt, not from the card. So just be careful with your bigger pieces of salt. Here's another one I did. I just wanted to show you a few of them. This one you can see I used the same colors, but I had these little pieces of watercolor paper, so I was like, I'm going to go ahead and use these because I think I can do like the top half of a card with it. And so you can see a little bit of difference. Like they're all going to look completely different, you know, every single one you do. So that's kind of the cool thing about this technique. And then I have one in a different color scheme. So that one was the pumpkin pie. Melon Mambo, Rich Raspberry, and Blackberry Bliss was this one. And you can see here there's a really harsh line. That's because this paper was not completely saturated right in that area. So that's a harsh line from when I went to put down the Blackberry Bliss. So do be careful. This one is, well, let's see here. Marina Mist is the bottom. And then Island Indigo. And then a Night of Navy. So I really ended up liking that. You know what? I'm going to scrape it off before, I think. And you know what? I'm going to try and brush away. Maybe it'll make it less likely to have that, like, scratched look if I just brush away a little bit of it first. So I'm just brushing gently with my fingertips. Okay. Oh, this one's cool. This one looks really, like, icy. This would look really neat. There's a snowflake stamp set that's current right now that it would look really cool with. So I might have to do that with this card, and then I'll get back to you. Okay, so now I'm just going to go ahead and scrape over it with the card. And really, you can use anything, guys, whatever you happen to have on hand. And my paper's kind of bowed a little bit and then down and then bowed again. This one I just tried taping on 2 sides. And you can see that really it worked better when I had it taped on all 4. So just a tip from me to you there. Okay, now I am going to set that card aside and make sure I get it cleaned. The key card or whatever, so I can put it away later. Now this one peeled up a little bit of the, oops, maybe you can see that. It peeled off a little bit of the watercolor paper. So that's the other risk you run. That's why I want to make sure like whatever piece of paper I have is a little bit bigger than what I need, because it may do something like that. Okay. And I probably will just throw away these paper plates. Now that's the nice thing about like my, and see this one, oh, there's a lot of ink left there. Hang on. So that one isn't completely dry on that edge where, remember I told you, because I didn't tape down the edges, there was like kind of a valley. In that valley, it's not completely dry. So I'm just going to go ahead, I have a paper towel here, or a baby, whatever, wipe. So I'm just going to wipe on the back of here so I don't get that all over the place. Okay, so that kind of removed that ink, but you can see it's right there where that water was, or that ink was. But anyway, that's the nice thing about this board, is I can, you know, reuse it over and over and over again. So anywho, that's the deal there. Now, one thing I did want to mention, I didn't play around a whole lot with this, but I know Jennifer McGuire mentioned it in her video, so I thought I'd mention it too. She said that if you dried the watercolor a little bit before you put the salt on, it gives it a completely different look than when you apply the salt on it being like super wet. So that's another idea to play around with. I think she said it gives you even more like, what's it called? Like more things happening. Like, I think this is really great results, and I think like it looks like a lot of change, but she said even more changes and happens if it's a little bit drier first, which is kind of the opposite of what you'd think. So that's why I want to make sure to share that, because I think this is just such a cool technique. So anyway, thank you so much for watching. I will have the details over on my blog about how I assembled the rest of the card and the measurements and stuff. So check out there. I'm not going to assemble the rest of the card on the video tonight. So do check out my blog. It's sarahlovestostamp.com. And over on the side there's a place you can put in your name and email, and that'll get you signed up for my email newsletter, and that's how you find out everything that's going on, whether it's a company promotion or something just I'm doing with Stampin' Up, or all of the great ideas I send out. Thanks so much. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up, and feel free to leave me a comment. I always love to read your comments and respond. I do read every comment and respond to every comment. Thank you so much for watching. Hit the subscribe button, and I will talk to you guys very soon. Thank you.